All right, everyone. So welcome to our AP exam parent night, as well as for students. This webinar will be recorded. So a couple of housekeeping things first. We're excited to present this information for you. This entire presentation will be on our website after the meeting is done, as well as the Q&A, as you have noticed, is available for you to type questions in. We will answer every question that goes into the Q&A. We might not answer the questions in real time tonight, depending on how much time we have, but for sure, any question that is in the Q&A, we will answer and send those questions, those answers to you. I want to start by saying College Board has been very flexible, and we're very appreciative of how College Board has, thinking back to last year, offering an online test for our students across the globe to get AP exams done. And that was really a good show on their part. This year, they've stepped it up even more. And the flexibility can almost be harder to process, but we're excited to have options to share with you. And I am incredibly appreciative of the folks that are on the screen right now. Ms. Thomas, Mr. Marquez, Ms. Y, and Ms. Burns. Our AP teachers are extraordinary. They're remarkable, and they're going to give you the best of what they have. They do it every day for your students in class. And now they're going to share the information with you parents so you can understand what your students are going to be experiencing.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Good evening, AP parents and students. My name is Jennifer Burns, and I'm the AP coordinator here at Diamond Bar High School. I wanted to go ahead and start out with just sharing some updates for AP testing that came through this last few weeks, and it's constantly changing. I was just in another meeting today, so as these updates come out, we will make sure to share them with you and keep you informed. As we move forward, let's see. College Board has some updates about AP testing, but I also just want to keep you reminded about their AP Classroom. Your students have an AP Classroom that's continuously updating resource for your students. So make sure that they're always checking the AP Classroom. There's practice tests, there's sample videos, and they should definitely keep looking at that to see anything that they need. And also just reminding them in their AP Classroom to keep their names, their legal names, so that when they're taking their AP test, everything's linked up. So definitely keeping their AP Classroom current is very, very important. In February, College Board released updates for AP testing, and they came up with a variety of testing options that reflect the unique characteristics of each exam. We're going to go ahead and share with you these options for testing and talk about different exams and features of the exams and what testing options going to be better for each exam. They came up with 3 administrations, and these 3 administrations are full-length exams. There's paper and pencil in school and full-length digital exams taken at home, as well as there is an AP Chinese taken digital in school. I do want to make you aware that all of our AP world languages, so AP Chinese, AP French, and AP Spanish, all must be taken in school, as well as AP Music Theory. So when we got their updated testing schedule with the 3 administrations, the first administration is our normal AP schedule, in-person testing the first 2 weeks of May. Then administration 2 does a combination of in-person and digital testing, and administration 3, which goes into June, is all virtual testing. The last day for virtual testing that we are going to be given is June 10th, so it would be during the summer. We did come up with a schedule based on AP's schedule, and we talked with our AP teachers, as well as we sent out a survey to the students, and we had over 900 students respond to our survey. Based on all of those results, we came up with a schedule that would best benefit our students for in-person testing and virtual testing. We'll have this posted for all students and parents to see on the AP website, so you can refer to it. But everything in purple will be an in-person test, and everything you see in gold would be online virtual tests taken at home. There are some tests that have one option, and most tests have an in-person option and a virtual option, so that students can pick what's right for them. If a student does pick to take AP Calculus, let's say in person, they could choose to still take their AP Human Geography virtually. So they do not need to pick the same administration for all of their AP tests. They will have a choice. Next slide, please. I do want to point out that the digital versions are not the same digital versions as last year. These digital versions will be a full-length version. They need to be taken on computers only. So it's going to have to be on a PC, a Mac, or a school-managed Chromebook. Last year, they were able to do computers and or smartphones and tablets, but this year it's only going to be a computer. They are going to have to input everything into the computer. So they will not be uploading any pictures of their work. Everything must be done in the computer. We're going to get more information on the digital exams later, and you're going to hear from some of the teachers who will give you some information on digital exams for their subject area as well. And in April, if you do decide to take a digital exam, we will meet again and go over how to upload the correct formats that they will be using and practicing. That is a big thing for the digital exams, making sure you practice ahead of time. Next slide, please. I want to now let some of our teachers go ahead and talk about the differences between in-person testing and at-home testing online from the perspective of their class. I know there's big differences when it comes to some of the science and math classes. So we're going to go ahead and start with Mr. Marquez. He's going to talk about the chemistry tests.
Good evening. So on the AP chemistry exam, the traditional AP chemistry exam has a separate multiple choice section of 60 questions, and the free response section is 7 written out questions. The one advantage of taking the exam written in person is that you're able to move between questions. You can survey the questions, pass on a question, come back to another question. Through the online version, you can't do that. You can only move linearly in one direction. You're not allowed to come back. That currently on my class, my students use an online system to take exams, and they take it in that particular fashion. And it does provide a level of almost anxiety, not being able to come back to a particular question. And so it's an advantage to be able to look at the question, realize that, I might need to move forward and I can come back to another question. And there's that. And also the free response question. With the free response questions in AP Chemistry, there are a lot of calculations. There are a lot of expressions that they have to write. There's a lot of graphs that have to be interpreted. And with this new digital exam, they have to type all of that information in. They will be provided like a special index, a key for certain symbols. But even those certain symbols, like if you had to use an exponent, if you had to write something in scientific notation, superscript or subscript things, it takes much longer to write those things out. One last thing, the digital exam has extra multiple choice questions on their second part. So they would have their multiple choice section, they'll have their FRQs on the digital exam, and then on top of that, they'll have an extra 40 multiple choice questions, making it a little bit longer. My personal opinion is I think that the students will perform very well, much better in person. And one last thing is the in-person exam coincides to where I will stop teaching the content. So I'm preparing my students to take the exam for May 6th. The online AP chemistry exam is not until June 10th, which is the first week of summer school. And I know a lot of my juniors that are in that AP chemistry class end up taking a summer school class. So now that digital exam will coincide with summer school. And I think that adds to the load for students.
Thank you, Mr. Marquez. And now we're going to go ahead and hear from Diana Way for AP Biology.
The benefits of a paper-based exam, which Mr. Marquez has already mentioned, is the fact that you can interact with the test on paper and that there's a lot of good test taking strategies that the kids can implement, like underlining, highlighting key important ideas. I think overall, generally, you have more control because you have your pencil, you have your pen, or your paper. And if you have to do a graph, if you have to write equations, certain things, you have a lot of control with that paper pen test. Now, some things to consider is, of course, safety, which Ms. Burns will later talk about, and transportation, which I think, we're not really used to, dropping off our kids at school at a certain time. So that's definitely something to consider. And then the other thing that I was trying to think about is the fact that we have not been testing the kids this year with paper and pen. So maybe the kids are, out of practice with that. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, switching over to the online version, the benefit, I was trying to be unbiased and think about both, but one of the benefits that I can think of for the online test is that there's going to be more time to review because it's going to be about maybe a week and a half later, right? Some things to consider, though, just also like Mr. Marquez said, is that a lot of the AP Bio teachers are going to finish teaching right before the first date, which is May 14th. And we're just going to do a lot of review. And so the question is, what's going to happen in our classes after that first test date, the paper-based test, which is May 14th. And, yes, this is an AP class. We want to, prepare the kids to take the AP test, but there's so much more than just the test, right? So we want to, do some projects. There's some things that are not covered in the exam that we want to talk about. And overall, we have to do certain things in our classrooms to close out the school year. So there's that to consider, because that may mean that the kids that decide to take the online version may have to review on their own. Just because, if certain kids take the paper-based test and then we're doing projects and closing out the year, the kids will have to, review on their own. Another thing I can think that I was trying to think about is unforeseen technological issues, because the College Board wants to make sure that the test is fair and that no one's cheating and all that stuff. So there's a lot of hurdles and a lot of practice that the kids have to do. And I just want to tell you that even just yesterday, I had a test, and it's not my first online test. We've had multiple tests so far. And even yesterday, after we've had a whole semester and a half of doing online learning, I've had like 6 kids having issues with the test and all that. So it's just definitely something to be aware of. And again, that kind of added anxiety to the kids that were taking my test yesterday. Another thing to consider is this, that the online test, they all have synchronized start and stop times, which means it's going to start whether the kid is there or not. It's going to give them a break. And after the break, it's going to start right away. And it's going to stop whether the kids are ready or not. So that's also something that, you should be aware. The kids should be aware as well. And they should be on it if they're going to take the online version. Another thing to be watchful for the online test is fatigue, because just sitting on the screen for more than 3 hours, reading and clicking through, I can't imagine just kind of losing focus towards the end, because, learning and doing something digitally is different from doing something in person. Mr. Marquez also mentioned this, but you cannot revisit answered questions, which is unfortunate because that means that you're on a question, you got to commit to the answer, and then that's it. You got to move on. And, there's the idea of going back and checking your work is no longer available to you if you take the online version. And I already mentioned this, but because of the date of the online test, at least for the AP Bio exam, the kids are going to have to review independently. So for the AP Bio test alone, the paper-based exam is May 14th, Friday at 8 a.m. The online version, the online test is going to be on the last day of school. So that's just other things to think about because it's during finals week. And depending on the teacher, the kids might have to adjust, like, do you take the final before? Like, are they excused or maybe they're not? Are there other projects that they have to deal with? So that's definitely something to keep in mind. So my final thoughts is actually 2 things. No matter what you choose, choose an option that is best for you. Of course, that's why we have this webinar, I guess, this meeting, so that you and your students can discuss this. But I want to kind of reassure you that no matter what version you choose to take, that both versions will be based on a global curve. So College Board does something called a psychometric analysis. And that means that if for some reason the online test was harder, the scores will be adjusted, so to say. Does that make sense? Or if for whatever reason the paper-based test was harder, it's the same thing. The scores will be adjusted. And so one thing to kind of keep in mind that I like to tell my students is I like to strategize in terms of test taking skills. And I like, for me, it's like, you know the content and all that, but we might as well get a higher score. Like, that's what I tell the kids. Like, if we can like understand the test and we can get more points, then let's do it. And the way, at least in AP Bio, and at least the way I understand it, the way that the scores are given is you're based off your scores compared to the average, to the global average. And if your personal score is higher than the global average, you're more likely to pass the test. Does that make sense? And typically speaking, Diamond Bar High School students tend to do better. And for me as well, let's do even better. Let's try to get one more point here and there. Let's get 2 points here. Let's try to like beat the competition, so to say, to try to get the kids to get above average, so to say. So with that said, all 3 AP Bio teachers on campus, we discussed this. And we think that we can maximize the student scores if they take the paper-based exam. So we do have a recommendation. Again, parents, it's up to you. You do what's best for you, your circumstances, and with your students.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That was a lot of information. We're going to go ahead and answer a few questions really quick before we move ahead. Giselle asks, can you not review answered questions in every AP test or only in biology? On all of your online tests, you cannot move forward once you move forward past the question, you cannot go back. So that is for all of your online tests. Another student or parent said, in regards to the online test, do students use their computers at home? If so, are the proctors monitoring the students? If so, are there additional restrictions such as not allowed to look outside the monitors? So we'll be getting a digital guide for students, and we can go over all the details on what that digital version is going to look like and what we're going to download on what kind of app or program. And that's going to come out in April. They haven't released that yet. And they're constantly changing. Even yesterday in the meeting that they had last night, they were giving us new rules for the online. So they're still working on the online rules, but students they'll be using their computers at home, and they will have to download some type of browser, but it's not the locked browser that they use with their AP Classroom, and it's not the browser that they were using last year. If they need a computer, we do have school Chromebooks that we can check out to students that will allow them to take the AP tests. As far as proctors, I do not believe there's anyone proctoring them like they do in the CASP testing, but I think they also remove the restriction of a camera as well. There are other things embedded within the online test for checking for cheating. There are things that they have done. For AP Physics, is it better for in-person or digital? Miss Jensfold wasn't able to be here. I believe she teaches a lot of our AP Physics classes and believes the same thing with the AP Physics, that the in-person is better for that class due to, again, some of the formulas, what they're doing. And she really does feel with the digital version and the browser that you will be using, it is just better for the in-person for physics as well. Someone asked about AP Euro. We're going to go ahead and talk about that in a little bit, but we are not offering the online test for AP Euro, and I'll go into more detail with that in a little bit. And I think we'll go into some of those other questions a little later, but now I'd like to go ahead and introduce Mrs. Marquez. She's going to go ahead and talk about the Econ Test. Thank you, Ms. Marquez.
So for microeconomics, I just want to iterate what Mr. Marquez and Ms. Way has said, that we are concerned about the timing of the online portion of the test. So I want to say what they're talking about. But for micro, we are done. We graduate on the 27th, and kind of like AP Bio, it's just a little unfortunate that the online test is offered on the day after, the Friday after graduation. And it's also Memorial Day weekend, and it'll also be senior week. And we haven't really talked about that, but last year the seniors did have their kind of traditional senior week. So we can expect that they won't be in traditional classes that week. We can, as we find out more, of course, you guys will know more. We don't know more, but that just means that they would, like we've been saying, they'll be taking the online test after having been out of traditional classes now for a week or so. And that's a difficult thing. I don't want to spend too much time talking about what we've been talking about, but I did want to highlight that I had one very honest student who might even be on this call, and he was talking about the benefits of online, that what has been successful for him at home is he has his study guides next to him. And I understand what I would be doing. And so I was actually just glad that he was honest. But in the microeconomics details on the digital guide Ms. Burns was talking about, it says that they're writing these tests, AP is writing these tests in such a way that the study guides, searchable questions, the benefits the students have been finding online, like, oh, look, I can Google this. And they're really trying to narrow that down, because when we think about what AP is doing, is they're taking a whole nation of students, some of whom have been in a traditional setting, and they need that test to be rigorous for those students who've been in person. They need this to be rigorous for the students who have been online, but then also the schools that are going to accept credit for it, it needs to be a valuable test to them. And so AP is not dialing down any of the content for a digital version of the test. I almost feel like with what Ms. Way and Mr. Marquez, he's here, we're married if you didn't know that, that what they've been saying is the benefit of, the in-person test, being able to flip back and forth in your test pamphlet it's really hard not to miss that benefit of being online, that they can't do that. Because, you get to question 50 and you go, oh, that's what question 10 was talking about. And you kind of go back and help yourself. And that's not an option online. I think there's one more slide if you can move forward, but it's just the idea that we think that the student, it says there in the middle that the test won't include questions that can be answered with internet searches, textbooks, notes, study guides, or similar materials. And a lot of the people who make these study guides work with AP. And so we know that they're going to, like we said, College Board has such a vested interest in making sure that this test is secure, that this test means something. So that's Mr. Hurst and I, the other AP microeconomic teacher, we also agree that the in-person test is what we believe will help maximize our students' scores. Everyone has to make their own choices, but that would be our recommendation. However, the online test, if the students are highly motivated, I think that's also a great option.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Marquez. And we're going to go ahead and move on to Mrs. Thomas, who's going to talk to us about our math exams.
Hi. So I'm talking about AP Calculus AB, BC, and AP Statistics. So just like everybody else who has spoken, we are encouraging our students to want to take the in-person version. Math, which is different than the language-based classes, in that your work is something that's very difficult to type. And because the virtual version, you do have to type your responses, not handwritten. You have to use a key to find math symbols to type in all your responses, among many of the same exact reasons you heard from all the other teachers. The difficulty specific to math, especially the way all of us who teach AP teach our students to test, is answering those we feel confident with first. And because you can't go back to a question once you've left it, and you can't move on to a question until you've chosen an answer for the one you're on, that is the antithesis of how we like to teach math. That being said, no matter what, your child is going to be prepared for no matter what version your child takes. Please understand, if virtual is what works best for you for one of many reasons, please understand your child is going to be prepared no matter what. But in person is just the nature of how math works best. If you look at the dates, our traditional date is what we're sticking with for Calc AB, May 4th. All of us who teach calculus, there are 4 of us who teach Calc AB. We have stuck with the exact same agenda and speed of our course. We are already on review. I taught my last new lesson in calculus a week ago. We will be reviewing up until May 4th, and we will take the test. Those of your students, though, who take it virtually, they will still be able to review up until the day they take it. Notice, though, that Calculus BC, we have requested May 24th. Now, we could have had it on May 4th along with Calc AB, but because of our numbers, if you're not aware, our Calc AB students, that's almost 400 students, and our Calc BC students were almost 200. Having them on the same day, That's quite a burden. So we have split them up. May 4th for AB and the 24th of May for BC. It is going to be a happening spot, putting those kids in classrooms all across campus to keep them safe, but that is absolutely what's going to happen. So I don't need to reiterate what all the other teachers have explained on why in-person testing for math is more conducive to how math has just generally been taught their entire life. I hope by now it probably goes without saying that that is what will be easiest. The typing element of math also very challenging. But I do want to say, just to put your mind at ease, your child is going to be prepared no matter what version they end up taking. And thank you for coming to the meeting. Ms. Burns, back to you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thomas. And next, I do want to bring up, I know I kind of touched upon it a minute ago when we were answering questions, but I did see some more questions in the chat. With AP US History and AP European History, they will be online only. Mrs. Arnold wasn't able to be here with us tonight, but she did record some information for you, and we will send that out tomorrow to your emails. And we would really encourage you to listen to it. She gives some good information as to why we chose the online date of May 19th. Her and the other history teachers on campus, AP history teachers on campus, actually grade the AP history exams, and they feel that it's very beneficial for you guys to do the online version. It's what you've been preparing for all year. And they also feel that when looking at the differences in the test, they are different from the in-person test to the online test, that students would perform better on the online version. So they do recommend the online version. And so we are doing the online May 19th version for our AP history exam. So most important, if we do have students coming to campus, we follow all of our guidelines. We will be following our cohort model. As of right now, that consists of having a parent signed consent form for the Walnut Valley Unified School District to participate, just like for all of our other cohorts that come onto campus. We also will be requiring the daily health screening. So stay home if you're sick. You have to fill it out and make sure you answer the health questions that go with it. We will also be doing social distancing during checking in and while walking to their assigned rooms. As of right now, we have a maximum of 14 students to a room, and they will be positioned 6 feet away from each other while in classrooms. Masks will be worn at all times. We will make sure that proctors are aware of proper mask wear and making sure that students are wearing them the correct way the entire time. We will have hand sanitizer available in all classrooms. We will not be allowing carpooling to school. You are only supposed to be with those that live in your own household, and no eating or sharing of supplies or equipment. You need to bring your own supplies. You need to also bring your own water bottles for during testing. So the question now is, what are our next steps? March 5th, we will be releasing a Google form similar to the one that the students filled out for the survey. This will give students a choice to pick which test administration they are going to do from the ones that we have available. So there will be the online version and the in-person version with the date and time there. Students need to look at the different test options, look at their schedule, their health and safety as well, and see what's right for them if they're going to come in person or take the online version. We are asking students to fill that out by March 10th. So that we can now upload the order. We do need to order in-person tests, and they have to ship them to us. So we need to update our final order and send it to College Board by March 12th. April 8th, there is a digital download testing app and information for students that will come out, and then we will proceed with any student who is going to do the digital version, and we will meet with them and talk about what needs to be done so that they can be successful taking their digital test. And also the practice that they will want to do beforehand. And then our testing will continue May 3rd through June 10th, depending on which administration they're doing. I did see a question about cancellations. College Board has allowed students to cancel their test up until the testing day. So if a student is signed up and paid for the test, they can continue to plan to take that test. And if they choose on that testing day that they do not want to test, we will refund their money minus any processing fees or whatever, but they can get their money back. However, we do have to confirm that they do not take the test. And it is about a processing time of about 4 weeks by the time we get the paperwork filled out, send it in. But you will definitely be refunded if you choose not to take the test. So we do encourage you, if you're planning on taking it, stay signed up. And if at the end you decide not to, then we can help you out. I did see a question about computer science. The computer science teacher did ask that we give an in-person test. He was asking for an in-person test. However, for the features of his test, I would definitely reach out to Mr. Liu and ask him what are the features and the best, what he thinks is best. I will also be uploading all information about in-person tests versus digital tests that has been released from College Board up onto our website. So you can compare and look at that as well for classes that were not mentioned. And then now, if you have any further questions, definitely, please feel free to reach out, send me an email, and I can get back to you. Like Dr. Jones said, if there's any questions that have not been answered and we see it, we will reach out and definitely answer those as well. Someone asked if they choose to take, if they already chose to took the test virtually, but they want to take it in person now. Yes, the form that we send out on Friday will be the form that will ask you to pick your choice. So the form that you already sent out and did for the survey for the students was just for us to get an idea of what we need to offer and to create our testing schedule. But the new one that we're going to send out on Friday will be what your choice is. And we're asking for you to have that done by the 10th so that we can start assigning test administrations to students and we can make sure we get our order in for all in-person tests. I'm looking to see, I did see someone said, is the global curve only for the specific exam, meaning online or in person, or is it for all tests combined? I believe it's for all tests combined. They do one curve. And when your scores are reported to the colleges, they don't specify and say that this student got a 5 doing the digital and this student got a 5 doing online. They give the score and that's it. It does not give reference to whether you did the digital or paper and pencil test.
May I also add to that, Ms. Burns? Okay, so in addition to the curve, which the curve meaning really so psychometric analysis is what they call it, is to make sure that if one online version for one day was harder than the paper-based exam, what they'll do is that they'll do an analysis to make sure that the scores are equated. Does that make sense? Because if a test was harder and therefore your raw score is lower, they'll try to adjust so that it matches across the board. Does that make sense? So the curve will be for each test date, but overall, like Ms. Burns was saying, is that they'll try to equate all tests to make sure that it's like one score. And that's the one score that all the colleges will get.
I did see another question about AP Classroom with resources to practice and study. Yes, AP Classroom currently has AP videos that cover all the concepts that your teachers are covering, but also in April, they will start releasing practice exams. And that will be available, I believe, the beginning of April. You will have it released.
I just want to say to Ms. Burns and to all of our AP teachers, you guys are phenomenal. Thank you again for sharing your perspective. Parents and students, please know that this information that we have, this is the best that we understand it. And I have 100% confidence in our AP teachers and what they're sharing with you. And knowing that the online version does seem to have some clear negative components to it. obviously we want to support you in whatever you need to do. And we will support you with whatever your decision is. And so we appreciate that. And when we're not able to, it will only be because of the COVID regulations that we weren't able to sustain. So the schedule that we showed earlier, that schedule might be adjusted slightly, but everything with COVID we know is about being flexible. So if you again, there's been a lot of amazing information that's been shared with you, a lot of good advice and necessary tips. So stay tuned. I will continue to communicate, and thank you again, Ms. Burns and Ms. Thomas, Ms. Way, Mr. and Mrs. Marquez. You guys are outstanding. And again, to all the students and parents that are here listening, I hope the information was helpful. We will again have this recording posted for you to review at your leisure. So with that, I'll pass it back to Ms. Burns and to the teachers for a last word.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And please look forward to seeing Mrs. Arnold's video if you are in an AP history class. Thank you.